What the? Add the stage. I didn't remove that.
T-minus 3 minutes. T-minus 2 minutes. T-minus 1 minute. T-minus 50 seconds. T-minus 40 seconds. T-minus 30 seconds.
All right. About to go on.
T-minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
All right, folks. This is Kenny with Just the Right Angle coming at you live, giving you an update on what's going on regarding the fights for freedoms across the state and, of course, occasionally the nation. I wanted to focus on some events that are going on regarding the fight against data centers. This is an organization called Group for Central Arkansas to fight against the rise of AI. It's a group called Art Central Arkansas Against AI Data Centers. Now, it is mainly run by leftists, but as you can see, there's a video from Tucker Carlson. And actually, let me just play this right quick.
Taxpayers be required, as they now are, to subsidize this?
They don't. They don't necessarily have to do that. They just won't win any contracts. It's a competition.
But why are you getting tax breaks is my question.
Yeah, everybody, you go back and you say, what incentives can you give us to invest $15 billion in the first 1.5 gigs? That's what it takes. I have to go raise $15 billion.
Well,
that's just
okay, but anyone who starts a business, why should taxpayers have to pony up for that?
They don't. But
well, of course they do. If you're getting a tax break and they're not, they're making up the difference. There's a state budget.
Hey, that's no problem. That's no problem. I can build it in Texas. I can build it in Jacksonville, Mississippi.
But why, if it's such a good business, would you be asking taxpayers to help pay for it without giving them equity in the company? Are you giving taxpayers shares?
Nope.
No, the investors get the shares. But here's why they would do
But
it.
why would the taxpayers have to?
Well,
I mean, in other words, if you want to start a business, but why am I as a taxpayer forced to pay for your business? I don't get it.
Well, let's forget about data centers. Let's go any manufacturing. Let's say you're going to build an aluminum sheet manufacturing facility.
Mm-hmm.
You go to the government there and say, look, this is going to huge capex huge capex expenditure. I'm going to hire 2,000 people. I'm going to build a community center. I'm going to pay a lot of tax on the profits in your state when I sell the aluminum. And I'm going to hire all these people who they will also pay tax. And we will build a school because our workers need a school. And. What can you give me to incentivize me versus the state right beside you, which is willing to give me an incentive package?
No, I understand. I understand that you're gaming a system in place. You didn't come up with this, but I'm just trying to understand. So the trade typically is jobs, okay? But these projects don't actually.
Well, no, it's also jobs and taxes because you're going to
and taxes.
Yeah,
but it doesn't work. It never works. It's a scam, and we shouldn't be doing business this way. A company, if it's a good company that's going to generate profit, then get private investors to pay for it, not taxpayers. And this is one of the many issues with data centers. Now, again, this organization is mainly leftist, and for some reason they protest ICE, even though the same people that want to ruin our country with data centers are also the same ones that want to import the third world, the same type of people. But anyway, they're having a meeting Sunday, June 7th at the McMath Library at 1:30 to talk about this issue. There is also supposed to be a city council meeting tomorrow, Tuesday, June 2nd. Little Rock Board of Directors is having a meeting. Now, this organization is going to have an open mic at 4, and then you have to be there by about 5:30 to get in this speak. And then at 6 p.m. should be a meeting. I believe Little Rock does televise their meetings. This was kind of an event they had today where they held signs up at an overpass. That's the America Distress issue. Of course, sometimes these people mix in other messages with their effort to fight against data centers. And of course, you can check out this organization for other events. They usually post some events. They've had some of their past events before. They had the protests in Conway, press conference in support of moratorium. Part of the issue with this organization is some of them think that somehow Democrats will fight against this. But in reality, the data center fight is truly nonpartisan. What I said before is that the leadership of both parties has really failed. And right now, the Republican Party is the supermajority in the state, particularly in the legislature. The Pulaski County government is mainly Democrat. The city is mainly Democrat. And they all failed to stop this. One example here is a law that gave a tax exemption for data centers. Usually these backroom deals are promised to people that they're going to provide tax money, but then they're actually given tax exemptions for these shady organizations. So this was the Senate vote on HB 144 to amend the sales and use tax exemption for data centers. And you can see the people that voted for it. Now, again, it does take majority Republicans to pass it. And you can see some of the people that voted against this: Senator Flowers, who's a Democrat, Brian King, who's a Republican, Penzo, who's a Republican, Gary Stubblefield, who was a Republican. He passed away. And then some of these people did not vote. It actually did not pass by a big margin, but it did pass. Keep in mind of this guy, Fred Love. Now, he is a Democrat. He's from Mableville. He happens to be the candidate that the Democrats decided to pick to run for governor of Arkansas against Sarah Huckabee Sanders. So the idea that somehow you're going to beat this by voting Democrat. It's just not true. Okay. Again, the Democrat Party failed just as much as the Republican Party did in terms of fighting against these scam facilities. And I mentioned this before when I talked about the issue with LM Wind Power, which was another scam that we had to deal with several years ago. It closed in 2008. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It opened in 2008. It was supposed to give around 1,000 jobs within 5 years of opening. As of 2016, the site employed only 450 people. And then not long after that, it closed down. And I've mentioned before, it was a $150 million project. About $6.9 million came from the governor's office. That was Governor Beebe at the time. $8 million from the Arkansas Economic Development Commission, plus well over $1.5 million to train the workers. And this is all money that could have been used to help mom and pop stores. It could have been used to fix roads, potholes, could have been used to update the electric grid, which is still out of date. Could have been used for all sorts of things or given back to the taxpayers in the form of a tax cut on a county level. But instead, it was wasted on this. Now, the company allegedly gave $3.4 million back to the state. I didn't see a refund from that. If you know someone who did, let me know. And they gave back the land. And this is similar to a wind turbine factory in Jonesboro that was a $100 million project. It was supposed to be 700 jobs, and it went bankrupt. So again, the same people that scammed us with this are scamming us with this data center stuff. I've mentioned this story before. One person that has gotten involved in the fight is Erin Brockovich. She is the person who had to fight against the multi-million-dollar utility company in California known as PG&E that was poisoning people with their water treatment system of their power plants, where they were putting hexachromide in people's water and it was giving them cancer and all kinds of health problems. So now she's joining in the fight against these data center stuff. But a lot of the going green, reduce your carbon footprint crowd that, of course, were flying around in Lear jets on their way to their mansions and had their yachts. You know, the Greta Thunbergs and Al Gores, they're nowhere to be found in this fight. So sadly, people are having to take this fight up on their own. And it's on both sides. People that were, on board with the anti-carbon stuff have started to realize, they're really having to do this on their own. And then a lot of conservatives who are, fighting against the green energy agenda are also having to join this fight. Here's in one of the groups, Stop Wind, Solar, and Data Farms in Carroll County. And they had originally were developed to fight against the wind farms that were being built up in their areas, but since then they have branched out to include data centers. And I like to share these groups, let people know about them. Here's another group that's been fighting to reform the Republican Party after transition to this. Is one of the issues that we've, the best way to fix this thing politically is to reform the Republican Party of Arkansas to make it into an organization that is actually for freedom and not just a good old boy country club. This is a group I wanted to share them. I've mentioned them before, but they mainly focus on reforming the Republican Party of Arkansas. They just got started a while back. They were, of course, supporters of Brian Norris for Secretary of State. They fought also against the Franklin County prison deal, which is another shady backroom deal, which, again, a lot of good old boy networks like the Association of Counties, the Municipal League, and the Chamber of Commerce, and other such groups that I've mentioned before, groups that I've said need to be targeted, worked on. And so there's a fight to try to save these organizations. As of now, June 1st, the next supposed meeting for the Pulaski County Quorum Court has not been scheduled. It is supposed to be the second and fourth Tuesday of the month, so I assume it will be June 9th. Of course, Judge Barry Hyde has done a lot of shady things to try to stop any debate regarding this data center stuff. So he may decide on his own, we're going to reschedule the meeting, or he may not have it at all, or he may have it but not allow public comment. And the other thing I wanted to talk about was the Republican Party of Arkansas. They have finally posted their state convention with only a few days of notice, hoping that most people won't attend. So this is the Republican Party of Arkansas's main page. If you go to the calendar and look at the state convention, registration supposedly at 8. The convention's supposed to start at 10. To be a delegate or alternate, you have to pay $30. So they've increased the fee to attend this. They are claiming that no guests are allowed due to extremely limited space and high numbers of expected attendees. That is a bold-faced lie. That has always been a lie. At every Republican event, they have had plenty of extra room for people to attend, even if they had to stand. There has never been a convention. There has never been a state committee meeting where they did not run out of room. So what they are doing is blocking guests from attending, and they are making this as an excuse. They being the Republican Party of Arkansas leadership. As I've said before, some of the people that run the Republican Party of Arkansas are people that do not belong there. They are the consultant class. They have done everything they can to make it more difficult for people who actually care to be involved. They allowed this data center garbage to go through, just like the other things that they have done. I've put a list of some of them before, and that you need to demand they be removed from the Republican Party. I'll go ahead and post that list again in the chat so people can see who it is I'm talking about. And kind of their titles, and I've mentioned ways to deal with them before. But anyway, those are the two things I wanted to talk about just briefly, is a few events that are coming up. There's probably some other protests that are happening that I don't know about, but you can check out that list of folks. And again, Proverbs 29:2 is a verse I've shared before, but it's kind of the theme of why I do this. Of course, these are ways to fix things on a political level. Obviously, there's a lot of things that need to be done regarding this nation on a more spiritual level. People need to repent. They need to get out of debt. And they need to prepare to get out of their comfort zone on many levels if they want to save this nation and keep this nation from burning like what's happening in France. For those who don't know, France is basically on fire. They actually, I think it was the end of a soccer game, but they had riots, and we have them here in the States too. We had an riot against Immigration and Customs Enforcement in New Jersey that turned violent. A huge fire was put at the foot of the Eiffel Tower, and they chanted Allah Akbar. That's the thing they say before they kill people. And these are third worlders that are often getting all kinds of tax incentives. This is what ICE is trying to keep from being put into the U.S. And of course, the Democrat Party, on the other hand, wants more of this. Their candidate for U.S. Senate, Haley Schaffner, literally gave IDs to people like this. He wants more of these type of people here. So Again, this is kind of the fight that we're involved in. Find out who are the globalists in your neck of the woods and do everything you can to fight them. That's what we're going to have to do to save this country, at least on a political level. Well, folks, that's it. Thank you for listening in. I'll try to do another broadcast, not sure when yet. And then the last few Fridays I've been able to go on the Dave Ellswick show. Honestly, I don't know what's going to happen at the state convention, so I'm going to have to tune in and see. If you're not on Rumble, create a Rumble account. If you do have Rumble, when I do show up, just say hi, and leave any comments, and share this with others. You all have a great